Hello everyone. In this video I want to look at solving quadratic equations, specifically those that require the use of a square root. An example of this is 4x squared plus 9 equals 0. And from the start, one of the reasons I can identify that I'm going to be using this square root is that this is a quadratic equation in that it follows the format of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. My a is 4 in this case, my c is 9. Now the difference is there's no b term. In other words, there's no middle term or a single x term, or many ways of saying it. That's usually a good indication that I'm going to be using a square root to solve this equation. Again, when there's no middle term, no b value. So to solve this, I'll isolate my x squared by starting by subtracting 9. Now I have 4x squared equals negative 9. Divide by 4. So x squared equals negative 9 fourths. And now, to solve, I want to take the square root of each side. Now since I have a negative, what I'm going to do is pull it out. So I'm going to have instead x equals plus or minus, again because I'm taking the square root, I. Now I'll have just the square root of 9 fourths. Now I can simplify the square root of 9 fourths by saying this is the same thing as square root of 9 over the square root of 4, which becomes 3 over 2. So my solution is plus or minus 3 over 2i, or I times 3 over 2. And in a case like this, my I is either going to be in front of the fraction as we see here, or in the numerator with the 3. It would be incorrect to have the I with the 2 in the denominator. Another example, I have 2x squared minus 40 equals 0. I also identify that I have no middle term. It's just an ax squared and a c, a constant. So most likely I'm going to be using square roots. It's generally the simplest method. So I'll isolate my x squared term. Now I have 2x squared equals 40. To solve for x, I'll divide by 2. So x squared equals 20. Finally, to get my x, I'll take the square root of each side. Now I'll have x equals plus or minus square root of 20. Now with any radical, I always want to break it down as much as I can, put it into its simplest form. So I can reduce 20 by splitting it into the square root of 4 and the square root of 5. So now I have x equals plus or minus square root of 4, square root of 5, and I can say x is plus or minus 2 square root of 5. And be careful with problems like this that you do not put 2 plus or minus square root of 5. There are problems like that, but this is not one of them. Since the square root of 4 is right in front of the 5, that's where the 2 belongs, right in front of the 5 being multiplied.